Krishna Sripad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad Sirabai Charan Swami Sri Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Skandiviti Founder Acharyas the Grace of the Prabhupada ki Namacharya Sridhar Hridas Thakur ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki Harinam Sankirtan Santaraj my Bhagavatam ki Tiny Tagore Pimanande. All glories to be assembled devotees, all glories to be assembled devotees, all devotees. All glories to see Guru and to see Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Some cooking is going on? Huh? No, huh? I'm smelling something. Nothing. Okay. Om Ajnanatirandasya Gyanandhaya Taksurandritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manobishtam Swapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Shyam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Sri Visakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Praya Sabadvishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistike. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttamaśloka Charitam Shakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Svasayanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pagvam Gayate Gim Yat Kripat Maham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat Kripat Maham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. We're continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 17, entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. Today's text number 21. Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sa Samrad Dvija Satamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikeda Paryachasta Tam Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Samrad Dvija Saptamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikeda Paryasastatam Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sasamrad Dvija Saptamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikeda Paryachastatam Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sasamrad Dvija Saptamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikeda Paryachastatam
Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sa Samrad Vijasattamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikhedaha Paryachashtatam Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sa Samrad Vijasattama Samahitena Manasa Vikheda Paryachashtatam Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pravadati Sa Samrad Dvijasattama Samahitena Manasa Vikheda Paryachastama
Sutta Uvacha. Sutta Goswami said, Evam, so, dharme, the personality of religion, pravadati, thus having spoken, saha, he, samrat, the emperor, dvija satamaha, O best among the brahmanas, samahitena, with proper attention, manasa, by the mind, vikedaha, without any mistake, paryachasta, counter replied, tam, unto him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Sutta Goswami said, O best of the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied, and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. Kindly repeat after me. Sutta Goswami said, O best among the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied, and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. Purport. The statement of the bull, the personality of religion, was full of philosophy and knowledge, and the king was satisfied, since he could understand that the suffering bull was not an ordinary one. Unless one is perfectly conversant with the law of the Supreme Lord, one cannot speak such things touching philosophical truths. The emperor, being also on an equal level of sagacity, replied to the point without doubts or mistakes. Translation again. Sutta Goswami said, O best among the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied, and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. So the ongoing conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and the bull, who is representing Dharma, the bull. The King Parikshit, was asking the bull, who was in the suffering condition, what was the cause of his suffering. And the bull had given a very philosophical reply, telling that, what was the reply? That he could not ascertain exactly what was the cause of his suffering. Of course, that personality of Kali was standing in front. So here it mentions how both the bull, who is representing Dharma, the principles of religiosity, and the king, who is also representing Dharma. The king is a representative of the principles of religion. So he appreciated, here's mentioned how he could appreciate the reply given by the bull, and he will himself now be answering to the comments made by the bull. So one thing to understand is that the topics of dharma can only be understood and appreciated by those who have some understanding of dharma. That's why when we engage in discussions with people who are totally materialistic, they cannot generally so easily understand, or very often they cannot understand explanations that are given, because one who is conversant with the principles of dharma will see things in a different way. He will see things through the eyes of Shastra, Shastra Chakshu. And when we see things through the eyes of Shastra, then we see differently. We see, we can understand the inconceivable ways of the Lord, and we can learn to accept situations which ordinarily cannot be understood or accepted by ordinary people. The topic, of course, has to do with the suffering being inflicted upon all living entities who are actually living in the material world. And one of the aspects, one of the, we could say, truths or tattvas, is that whatever suffering is experienced by the conditioned soul in the material world, there are two main reasons. What are the two main reasons why the jiva, the living entity, experiences suffering in his conditioned state? One is obvious. Well, both of them, I suppose. What is the main, or who is the main cause? What is the main source of suffering in the material world? Important to know because everyone is forgetting Krishna. Yes, that element is there, but the main cause of suffering, sense gratification. Yeah, means we are the cause of our suffering. Yeah. We are, whatever suffering comes our way through sense gratification, of course, which is caused also by forgetfulness of Krishna. Because when people suffer, when someone inflicts suffering upon us, we tend to condemn that person. We point the finger towards that person. Why are you doing this to me? The last thing we think about is that we are the ones who have caused this situation, that person is, isn't it, causing some kind of pain or suffering to us. And that can only be, because people, they will say, it happens all the time. some unknown person will come up to us, and we don't know that person. We've not interacted with that person, but he comes up to us and maybe insults us, or does some physical harm to us. And naturally we'll call the police. Hey, but we don't know that actually we are the cause of that person doing this, suffering to us. That is one aspect, a very important aspect that we generally tend to forget, which is what, because Parikshit Maharaj was asking the bull, who is causing? Of course, that agent of Kali was standing there. But the bull, he could have said, him, kill him. But the bull replied, because the bull is representing dharma, the principles of dharma, means the subject matter of dharma is a very involved subject matter, and can only be properly understood when we cultivate this knowledge, the knowledge of dharma. So, so this point is being referred to here. And what is being said here is that actually Parikshit Maharaj could appreciate, he very much appreciated the reply given by the bull. And now, of course, he will elaborate on that reply, and we'll get some more insights on that. Before we do that, if there's any comment or question on this. So we'll just continue, which is text 22. Rajuvacha dharmam bravishi dharmagya dharmosi vrisha rupadhik yad adharma kritastanam suchakashapi tad bhavit. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The king said, O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of religious acts is also intended for one who identifies with the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion. Purport. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. That is a way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. So this interesting point, that whatever happens is God sent or God sanctioned. But what is actually the cause? I was telling generally there are only two causes that brings about or inflicts suffering. So we spoke about one of them, which is ultimately ourselves. And the other, which is also a source of suffering or cause of suffering, is that it is arranged, may not be due to karma. When we are the cause of suffering, means it is karmic reaction. But sometimes the Lord arranges to put his devotee in difficulty without necessarily that being due to karmic reaction. Let's see if it is mentioned here. Regardless of how suffering comes about, someone who is knowing about the principles of dharma accepts it as God sent, and in other words, does not become overly disturbed by that situation. And Prabhupada, of course, gives the example of Jesus Christ, who he mentioned was never angry at those who actually crucified him. So Prabhupada continues here in the purport, that is a way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. So we need to understand this properly also, because then those who are especially in positions of kshatriya, like Maharaj Parikshit, they have to also protect dharma by punishing those who actually go against the principle of dharma. Let's finish the purport first. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali, although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. So we need to also take into consideration See, this is suffering that was being inflicted to the cow and the bull. And so Shastra is explaining how suffering that comes directly or that is inflicted upon an individual, this is the type of mentality that one should have. Seeing or understanding things through Shastra. At the same time, Shastra clearly explains that if we see suffering inflicted upon other living entities, then we must act. There's a difference. In other words, for ourselves, we will, we are taught to tolerate such situations, such sufferings, but the injunctions are there in the Shastra that if we see someone inflicting suffering upon, there are specific codes that are mentioned. If one's wife is abducted, if one's home is set on fire, if one offends Vaishnavas or devotees, or inflicts pains upon other living entities, then there are specific codes which are meant to be especially the responsibility of those trained in the laws of dharma, which generally means it is specifically the responsibility of kshatriyas to actually, based again on the codes of dharma, to give punishment to those who actually go against the principles of dharma. So it's something that is subtle. For our own self, we are meant to see that suffering in a particular way, and we are meant to tolerate such suffering, but when that suffering is inflicted upon others, then we're meant to follow what is prescribed in the Shastra, which will at times require that those who are, we could say, trained and authorized will act on the principles of dharma. Is that correct or not correct?
Correct.
Which means that if we don't know about the principles or the codes of dharma, we will not be able to properly deal with different situations that arise. In present day society, actually, majority of people are much less conversant, or most people not at all conversant with the principles of dharma, and therefore they are not able to cope with all kinds of sufferings that are coming their way on the one side, and then on the other side, those who are meant to administer or those who are meant to punish, means leaders, because they are lacking also in understanding the codes of dharma, therefore things are not happening the way they should be. So it means that um,
his own action and the Lord's give suffering. We have to learn that we are responsible to reduce the suffering or allow to just remain like that. How to learn that what is the responsibility then if someone accepted this principle about sufferings, our own sufferings, how much we should deal with that, or what limit or field of action, how to learn that second and to act according to the Lord's will, that sometimes don't act against the suffering, sometimes act and reduce it. Because it's natural we want to reduce.
um,
Or that's unnatural?
the natural tendency for the vast majority of the avoid and to. But Queen Kunti,
How she learned that?
ah,
How did she learn?
how did she
as
learn?
an advanced leader? What was the steps to attain that level of deep understanding?
Yes. Um, well, these are deeper levels of these principles of dharma. Uh, for example, in the today is a disappearance of Srila Rupa Goswami, who has given us the nectar of devotion. So that whole science of um, dharma is presented um, in the nectar devotion, where I mean, Queen Kunti Devi, she was, um, she's one of the very elevated saintly Vaishnavis who, in the wonderful prayers that she has given, demonstrates her very, very deep philosophical understanding of the principles of dharma. How to come to that level of understanding? I mean, she is praying for calamities to come again and again, which is most people think. Um, People go to temples or mosques or churches to get relief from the sufferings, and they are constantly doing pujas and doing different activities to reduce that suffering. Um, so, how to come to that level? Ultimately, purification of consciousness, understanding how uh, the living entity in the material world has in so many different previous lives acted in ways which are very abominable. Yeah, one statement made by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur uh, exemplifies this. He mentions how the greatest sinful activity committed by the living entity, and this requires some thought and some meditation to fully appreciate and understand the statement. So he mentions that the greatest sinful activity for all living entities is to have rejected Krishna or to have forgotten Krishna, which is the source of all happiness and fulfillment for the jiva, for the it's like uh, when we see this in the material world, people have a very uh, loving relationship with someone, and then for whatever reason one rejects or discontinues that relationship. In the case of Kunti Devi, her angle was that the more we are put into being independent from so this is that is the only proper way that we can develop what is meant to be the very attractive feature or quality that Krishna is looking for in a living entity. Prabhupada summarizes or refers to as service attitude, isn't it? We see this, it's a very, we could say it's a very rare quality, but it is meant to be the quality that all of us are meant to develop. The willingness and the enthusiasm that comes also with this very attractive quality that is so attractive that Krishna himself takes notice when one develops this mood and mentality of service, which is the essence of devotional service. So that sentiment or that quality will develop as we understand, as we appreciate the greatness of Krishna, isn't it? And which means accepting all kinds of reverses, like in the example again of the Pandavas, when Kunti had to, as a mother, she had to bear all of the inconveniences that her children were put into from very early childhood, when they lost their father and had to go and be inconvenienced in so many ways by the mischievous activities of Duryodhana, and which continued actually up until the Battle of Kurukshetra. So only someone who's fully surrendered can tolerate and accept such kind of inconveniences, and of course it's exemplified um, not only by Queen Kunti but also by the Pandavas themselves. In one lecture, Prabhupada was nicely explaining how, just see, the Pandavas were put into so many trying conditions. Their kingdom was stolen. they were placed in a life-threatening condition. I mean, Bhima was poisoned by poisoned food. They were put in a house that was put on fire. Um, even their wife Draupadi was dishonored, and Prabhupada was going on like this, explaining all of the different calamities that took place, and then Prabhupada makes a remark or the comment that even though all of these horrible things happened to them, the end result was that it increased their affection to Krishna. It increased their devotion and their surrender to Krishna. Whereas in the material world, those who are devoid of this knowledge of dharma, of this understanding, that whatever Krishna does, it is ultimately for our for a higher cause. Mm. People generally curse or cannot accept, isn't it? Yeah. People lose one of the members in the family, especially they might lose a young child or their son, and it's very, very difficult. It becomes or remains very difficult as long as we are not appreciating or understanding the workings of the Lord, which are which are inconceivable, which cannot always be understood by us. But whatever that firm conviction needs to be developed gradually by all of us, that whatever takes place is like it cannot take place unless it is sanctioned by Krishna. Even though we may not understand or we may initially um, react in so many different ways. So it means we need to develop that kind of consciousness that great personalities like the Pandavas, like Queen Kunti, develop. Isn't it?
Is there any explanation in Bhagavatam when someone asks punishment for their misdeed when they understood?
Any explanation when someone asks for punishment?
Punishment, and this proper act. Like, you do some misdeed,
right?
And your guru or leader will punish you to help you to correct. But if you understand the misdeed before the guru act, you can ask for punishment. Is there any such
Example?
example? Somebody properly ask for punishment, and that's because, for example, there was Chataharidas who made a mistake. All the other devotees wanted to protect him, remove the punishment. He cannot come. Then he was suffering.
Right.
And then he decided to commit suicide.
Right.
Which looks like a very heavy ask for a punishment.
Yes, yes.
Voluntarily coming out from the association of devotees who are the ultimate shelter. So, but it was proper. It was accepted by the Lord. Later, he explained that that was
So there are injunctions which like is connected with um, this anecdote of Junior Haridas. Mm, in other words, there are certain activities which are very very severe, which go against the principles of dharma. It's just like if someone, from the Vedic point of view, if someone in society kills someone, then then the what is it? Mm, capital punishment means that person should also be killed. If someone kills in society, so there is that injunction